Hey guys, how are you all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today I have for you guys is another movie review. Today we're tackling the Addams Family. This is my first, I guess horror movie, scary movie that I've seen this October. Is probably the only one I'm going to see in the theaters, to be honest. However, I did buy Brightburn. You saw my unboxing for that, so I'm going to watch that with my family on a Halloween night. However, before I get into this review for the Addams Family, I do want to say one disclaimer in that I'm going to be 21 on November 13th, so I'm not that old. So I have not seen the, the original, I guess, 60s or 70s. Anyone in the comments who have seen them, please correct me if I'm wrong. The bold black and white version, I have seen a few episodes, so I'm not totally new to it, but I didn't grow up with it, and I'm not super, affiliated with that. And I also have not seen the 1991, I believe, the PG-13 live-action movie. However, I do want to see that. It looks pretty funny. However, with that disclaimer, again, if I get a few things wrong or I say something's negative or positive that it shouldn't be, I'm sorry. You know me. Like I was saying, if you go see like the Lego Batman movie or the Lego Ninjago movie and you're like, oh, I didn't like it because I didn't get the Easter eggs, that's not me. I didn't get every Easter egg in this movie. However, that's not going to be a negative. I just need to educate myself. So, that's all that is. Anyway, disclaimer over, and now to the official review. So, with this, of course, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but it's the Addams Family, there's not much to spoil. So, it kind of starts out with a little prequel of how, the mother and father got their, the house and all that and everything, and their family started. And, of course, it's almost like Joker in a way. Joker is about, a guy, Arthur Fleck, who gets, bullied by society and then turns on society because of that. This movie, the Addams Family are already kooky and creepy and freaky monsters, right? But of course, everyone in the world is like, oh, they're monsters, kill them, we gotta destroy them. And of course, they're like, well, we just want to be normal, we're different, but we just want to start a family and go to a normal house. So they find this house, and of course, it's all run down, it's destroyed, and there's rats, and they're like, it's terrible. And they're like, we love it. So it's really cool. So essentially, that's the plot, right? It's very basic, but it works and it doesn't work, and I'll get into that in a minute. But essentially, again, the plot is they're trying to find a house, they find the house, they start a family, and they're trying to basically just feel comfortable in their own skin, so to speak, in this area. Of course, like I said, all the normal people like us, the bright-colored people, the happy guys, we're trying to, say, oh, these guys are monsters, and they don't belong here, and they're weird. So weird people are evil, and that's the whole moral of the thing, just because you're in a family, and it's sort of different, don't conform, it's not the norm, that's the kind of thing. So be yourself, and of course I don't need, the movie doesn't need, hopefully you guys know that already, be yourselves. However, with that in regard, it didn't feel like the moral was tacked on, because this is not a kid's film, this is a film for all ages, that's my big thing. I was kind of worried, because the animation was kind of like Hotel Transylvania 3 and 2 and 1. The Hotel Transylvania movies are for all ages, and they are good, however, they're ultimately, in my opinion, forgettable. This film is not forgettable, but it's not stand-outish either. But again, in my theater there were no children, which is really cool because it was probably people who grew up with the originals, like I didn't, but still it looked kind of cool, But again, going forward, this whole idea of, again, it is an all-ages movie for sure. I think kids will enjoy it, but teenagers and adults will also enjoy it as well. Much like most animation, come on, we can all admit that at this point, please. But going forward, like I said, it's for all ages. I like the plot. Again, it's very simple. Essentially, they're just trying to, find their way around the world and have a housewarming and all this stuff. But of course, stuff happens when this, I don't even remember her freaking name. She was very forgettable. This is probably the bulk of the negatives of this movie, which I'm going to get into first, and then I'll go into my positives. The negatives would probably be, the beginning I felt was a little strange because they're having like a little sword fight. And again, I'm not trying to say that just because I don't get the Easter eggs or the references, it's negative. That's mental, it's stupid, don't do that. I'm just saying, it didn't feel good, I don't know how to word this, you know what I mean? Tell me in the comments if there is a lot of heavy swordplay in the franchise. I don't think there is from what I've seen, but again, I could be wrong. So it starts out with them, defending the human, you're fighting the humans, we just want to leave you in, they're having a sword fight, really cool, and then they, of course, leave. So that was just kind of weird. The beginning was just it was very fast. Of course, it makes sense. They're getting married, they're trying to find a house, whatever, and that's how it starts. However, the whole swordplay, little action scene that goes on was kind of tacked on and a little strange, even though it was kind of cool to look at, and that's another good thing, the animation. The animation was fine in that scene, but it just felt a little strange. Of course, there's this other plot going forward of this blonde girl. She's very, as Wednesday calls her, very dolly, very made up, very plasticky. And she, she is sort of weird. She's very like perfect, She has to be perfect hair, perfect skin, perfect makeup, whatever. And she kind of goes through this phase with her daughter who wants to be a little different. But she's like, no, you can't be different, So the daughter rebels, and it's this whole plot. But of course, that whole part of the mom and the daughter. Of course, the daughter makes friends with Wednesday, and that's where the two families kind of clash. However, you see this to the extreme where both families are eventually, the happy people are us. We're wearing bright blue and bright red, and we're in pink houses, all that stuff. We're very expressive, and of course, the Addams family side is very black and bleak and dark, depressing. Of course, it's normal to them. So when they're like, okay, the Addams family are like, okay, we need to get a house party, Of course, the other people, the mom or the blonde lady and the made up person and her daughter, they're like, oh, we'll come and renovate your house, because that's what we do. I have a TV show. And of course, the Addams family doesn't like that, and the girl's like, well, if you don't like that, we're just going to tear your house down. So that's my negative. I don't think the villain in this movie was good at all. There's a scene early on where you're introduced to her show and she's doing all this stuff, but none of the jokes landed for me. It was very boring. It lasted far too long. And I get you have to introduce a villain, but the villain didn't work because, not that I'm saying female villains don't work, but when you have a villain girl that is so tacked on and pretty looking to the society, it just, I don't know, she doesn't look as evil, as like someone like Hela from Thor Ragnarok, If you had her as a villain looking like that, it'd be fine. You have someone like, I don't know, any pretty girl, I don't know, Daisy Ridley, freaking Emmett, whatever, It's like her as the villain, and it just doesn't work, maybe because it's how she's dressed, I don't know. She, of course, then turns out to be crazy, and she rebels, and it's a whole thing. But, to me, like I said, the villain wasn't believable, it was boring. That whole aspect, of course, it had to be there, because when you think about it, and I was telling someone when we came up with the film, I likened it to Cars 2. You can only watch Cars 2, and you can only watch Lightning McQueen so many times race in the World Grand Prix, before it gets very tacky and overdone, right? Cars 1 was very much about racing. Cars 2 was also racing, but it also had Mater doing these spy things. And I know a lot of people hate Cars 2. I, in fact, love Cars 2. It's one of my favorite animated films ever. I will never understand the hate for that movie. I get it. Mater did take a little bit of a front seat. But the point of what I'm saying is that you can only have one thing for so long. And I think that the Addams Family movie would have strived to do better if it only went to the Addams side family, But then again, as I'm saying this, you're thinking, well, by that logic, you can only have the Addams Family and their comedy and their morbid sense of humor so many times for an hour and a half before it gets really overdone, much like Lightning McQueen driving. So, Cars 2, they spruced it up with Spy, Finn McMissile, and Holly Shiftwell and all that, Professor Z, and it worked. Addams Family, in my opinion, does not work when you have that alternate family of, the dark Addams Family versus the really bright and happy other, us, kind of rebelling. And it works for the plot, but there's just something off about it, where you're looking at this female villain and you're like, you're evil because they won't accept your help? It was just kind of weird, and I get it, the humans view them as evil, so it works, but it also, and these are very small negatives. It just felt like the beginning was a little weird, the villain side was a little weird, and then of course there are a few things with like, the son in the Addams Family, doing the sword thing, and they have to practice, and they dropped this, I don't even remember, like Schwarstica, something like sword, not swastika, sword-sika, I don't even know what it was. But it was kind of like a tradition in the family, right? Once you become good with a sword, you're an Addams, And I don't know if that's in the show. If it is in the show, and if it is in the movie, please tell me. But as far as I'm concerned, not knowing about that, I do think it was kind of randomly placed. Like, oh, you're good with bombs and, projectiles, we have to be good with a sword, And of course it fits with the whole plot, you have to conform with, like, the family, but it turns out you don't, So, like I said, there are a few negatives, especially with the villain. And the beginning was a little strange with that little action scene. And of course the whole plot of, I don't know, having to be yourself, that was good. As far as other positives though, I think the animation was great. I don't really know who did this movie, but it wasn't DreamWorks, it wasn't Disney, and I don't think it was Blue Sky, and it wasn't Warner Animation Group, the Lego guys. So I wasn't like it either. So as far as I know, I think this is like a new company, I guess. But at the same time, I think it really, I don't know. I think it worked, for sure. But anyway, going with the animation, it kind of reminds me of like Hotel Transylvania in a way. How they were like, like the guy's running, and he's flipping and flopping around. I think it was really cool. However, when you get to the... Okay, it's from MGM, the company. My colleague just said MGM, so alright, that's cool. MGM made it. I didn't really know they made that many animated movies, but apparently they do. That's right, because they have a pet lion. I remember now. Or tiger, whatever that is. So, again, sorry I got sidetracked, I guess I had to tell you. My associate literally just came down my steps and MGM. So MGM made it, there you go. But anyway, yeah, the animation is good, and that's probably one of the best parts about this movie, is that the animation really gets under your skin. And the person I went to the theater with, they said that it was very... when you look at the animated, the Addams Family themselves, they look like the Addams Family, and that was really cool. Because, of course, they're not going to change it that much, but it was really cool when you grow up with it. I didn't, of course, but when people grow up with it and they watch it, they go, oh, that's cool, there's Wednesday, and there's, all these other people. It was pretty cool, I think. So the animation was definitely great. And the animation, I don't know, the way they move to certain characters, and the way, like, there's a scene where the wife has to cross a bridge, and all these spiders come out of her gown. It was really cool, and I think the animation did lend itself to that creepy aesthetic that they're going with. But the script was fine, the voice acting was fine. Chloe Grace Moretz, however you say her name, she was Wednesday. What is it? Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron. He was also Apocalypse and X-Men Apocalypse, of course, the bad guy. He was the father. All these, I think there was a lot of, actors and actresses that did a great job, because, again, they've done great things in the past. But I really did enjoy the voice acting, of course, and the animation. The plot, again, was fairly straightforward, and it worked. For the most part, again, the whole scene where she kind of walks in and, oh, I'm going to destroy your house, it just kind of seemed kind of random. Again, I would have preferred more of just the Addams Family doing their thing, and that's, I think, the best, strongest point of this movie, my last thing, the comedy. This is, I don't think every joke landed, I'd say maybe 80–85%. There are some really funny moments, though, with the Addams Family, how you get, they're very, I think this movie's rated PG for, like, a morbid something, sense of humor. It's kind of funny. Macabre. It was macabre. So, our version of tag is tag you're it, or, punching your dad, or, in the arm, just messing with him, whatever. Their version is, of course, the son throwing knives at the dad and, trying to blow him up, and rockets being fired, It's got blown up parts of the house, it really is kind of funny, because it's like a polar opposite of what we would do, But to them, it's completely normal. So it's funny how, like, they're like, oh, I hope you have a terrible day, or, that was terrible, or, it's just funny stuff like that. It is funny, and I think that was the best part about this movie, is that the directors and the filmmakers of this film knew how to go about the Addams Family type of comedy, which is good. Of course, some of the other comedy didn't quite land with the lady and that side, but I think for the most part, when there's a really funny part where they're in the wine cellar, and it was really funny. She's like, oh, look at the wine cellar, and she takes the cork out. You'd think there'd be like wine, drinking wine. And it turns out there's these people, and they're like, help us, this place is terrible. So it's like a wine, W-H-I-N-E. So it was kind of cool. I did enjoy the comedy in that aspect. So, anyways, again, I'm going to say, if you're a kid and if you're an adult, it's for all ages. Go watch The Addams Family. It's not a scary movie by any means, but it's a good, fun movie to get you in the Halloween spirit, I would say. Again, the animation was great. The voice acting was great. I think the plot was fairly standard, and I think it worked. However, there are some moments where it's just kind of random with, random set pieces and random things that just kind of happen just to happen. And of course, the villain is pretty terrible. But other than that, I think Addams Family was pretty bland, not forgettable, but it was good. I'm going to give it a B. I'll give it a B. How about that? Addams Family is going to get a B for me. Normally, from an F is like never watch it ever, like burn it. D is I wouldn't ever buy it on DVD. C is it's alright. B is good. And A is, of course, I loved it, amazing. So again, Addams Family, don't take a B as a bad thing, guys. I'm still saying it's a good movie. So if you do like it, please go check it out. And again, if you have seen the original Addams Family, the black and white version, and of course the PG-13 film, please tell me in the comments what your favorite was. The original, the rebooted live action, or of course the new animation one that's out. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this review. I really did enjoy this movie, and I will be buying it on Blu-ray. Again, there are a few negatives, but overall I had a great time, and it was really funny, and I really did like the comedy, especially in the Halloween mood. So anyway, please tell me what you thought, and thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.